Hey guys. All right, so this is day 3 of our first week of distance learning. This is the last skill that you will learn this week, and this is going to kind of be like our throwback skill that we do. So it's something you've already learned previously. So I wanted to start off with doing substitution because I know that that was a skill that we kind of struggled with. That was one of the skills that was also in your Whammy Day packet, so I thought it would be a good one to revisit and maybe get a quick refresher on that. Also, before we get started, I want to say that one perk of social distancing and having to work from home is that I'm recording this lesson from my bed. So that's fun. Okay. So my computer is propped up on 2 pillows, so just bear with me. It's very loud in my living room, so I had to work back here. So it'll be fine though. All right, so again, we are working with substitution. So there are 3 different ways 3 different situations basically that you'll come to if you are working a problem by substitution. So the first way that we're going to look at is by one equation. The other one is if there is no equation, and if both equations are set equal to a variable. Okay, so we're going to take some time. We're going to work through each one of those. Remember that before we get started, you need to copy all of your notes and all of your practice problems on a sheet of paper. Take them on whatever you have, because you have to send both of those to me for credit for the week. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on one equation. Also, I went ahead and looked at the first couple days. I love seeing all of your color coordinated, beautifully organized notes. It just makes me so happy, okay? Those are the types of things that I live for now. So make them interesting and make them fun, because that's what I spend my days looking at. Okay, now, first thing is we're going to be doing one equation is set equal to a variable. Okay, so when we're doing substitution, the goal of it is to solve one of the equations that you're working with, because right here you can see we have 2 equations here that we're working with. Your goal is to get one of them set equal to a variable. Okay, so that's what you want to do. So sometimes there's already going to be one equation that is already set equal to a variable. So the hard part is already over for you. So this is what you want, and this is an ideal one when you think, oh, this would be a good problem to solve for substitution. Okay, now just to recall why you use substitution or elimination is in systems of equations. So thinking back, that's when we graphed them, and we graphed both lines, and we want to see where they intersect. So we're trying to find that coordinate on the graph where they intersect, that x coordinate and the y coordinate. So we have to solve for both variables. And you can't solve for a variable if you have 2 unknown variables in the equation, which we currently have. We currently have a y and an x that is unknown. You can't solve an equation that way. So that's what we are going to try to do with this problem. So one way you can do substitution again is if one of the variables is already solved for it. So right here I can see that this y doesn't have anything paired with it, and all of that y equals 2x plus 1. Wow. Equals 2x plus 1. Okay? So when that's the case, what we're going to do is we're going to substitute it. Just like the name, substitute. Okay? Or in other words, plug it in. Okay? So basically, since y equals 2x plus 1, anywhere I see a y, I can substitute or plug in exactly what y equals, and it takes out that other variable. Okay, then I'll only be working with one variable. So since this is the equation that is set equal to y, I can just take all of that and I can plug it in everywhere where I see a y into the other equation. Okay, so I'm going to be writing this equation because this is the equation that was set equal to a variable. So I have x plus 3, and then I have a y here, but instead of putting that y, I'm going to put what y equals. I'm going to substitute it. Okay, So y equals 2x plus 1. All right, and then all of that equals negative 12. Now I'm working with an equation that only has one variable in it. Now the only variable that I have to deal with is x. And if I have an now if I only have an equation with one variable in it, I can solve and actually find the answer. Now this particular one comes out with some weird numbers, so we're gonna practice solving them in the practice problems. Okay, so you can just make a note now. Solve it. Yay. Okay, so that's the first way you do substitution. If it already is solved, or if one of your equations is already set equal to, if one of your equations is already set equal to a variable. Next, we are going to do it if no equation is set equal to a variable. Okay, so now you have a step that you have to take first. So, and if it's no equation is set equal to a variable, then your first step is going to be solve one equation for a variable. Now notice I didn't specify which variable you have to solve for, because it really doesn't matter which one you solve for. So you can solve for either one. But I usually like to solve for y. I don't know. I'm pretty sure my teacher told me you had to solve for y, but now I know you don't. It doesn't matter. I think that she just wanted us to all do the same thing. So I'm not going to tell you which one you have to solve for, but in mine, I'm going to solve for y. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first equation right here. And I'm going to solve it for y. Okay? I'm going to do my first step and solve it for a variable. Okay? So in order to do that, I have to get this 2x and move it to the other side. So I have y equals 10 minus 2x. Okay, so y equals 10 minus 2x. Now it is solved for one variable, and now I just do like I did in the first example that we just worked. Since I know that y equals 10 minus 2x, everywhere I see a y in my other equation, I can just substitute. Okay, so we're just going to rewrite that problem. Let me scroll down a little bit. All right, so I'm going to take that other equation. So I'm going to work with the second one now, because the first one was the one that we solved for y. So we can't just plug it right back into it. We have to plug it into the other equation, or substitute it into the other equation. Okay, so 4x plus 2. Okay, I'm not going to write this y, because y equals 10 minus 2x. So I'm just going to plug that in. And all of that equals negative 3. Okay, so there you have, you've started a problem for substitution. Now the rest of it, you would simplify it. Okay, but that's skills that you already know how to do, and we'll practice that in the practice problems video. Okay, so you can just make a little note here for yourself. You would say, now you solve for x. Okay, so that is what you would do if no equation is set equal to a variable. All right, last one for the notes. I've had a lot of good feedback on how this first week is going. I hope it's okay. I mean, it's not better than being with you guys, but hopefully it's still a good learning environment for you. All right, last one. Both equations are set equal to a variable, okay? So if y equals x plus 5, and y also equals negative x plus 3, then that would mean that both of these things would also equal each other. So what you could do is you could just set those two expressions equal to each other, okay? So again, this is when both equations are set equal to a variable, so you can see that they're both set equal to y, okay? So in order to solve them, you could just take both of them, x plus 5 equals, and since x plus 5 equals y, well, instead of saying y, you could put what y equals. Y also equals negative x plus 3. So you could just plug that in like this. Okay, the same is true if it was I'm going to make this up, but bear with me. So if it was y equals 2x plus 4, and y also equaled negative 3x minus 7. Okay, well, since both of those equal y, then they would both equal each other too. So you could just say 2x plus 4 equals negative 3x minus 7. And then you would just solve for x in this case. So that's our variable that we're working with. Okay, so if both equations are set equal to the same variable, you can just set them equal to each other and solve. Okay, so I know that's a lot of information. I know substitution is kind of confusing, so don't give up. Go to the practice problems. We're going to work some of them out, and it's going to make more sense. Okay, bye, guys.